Hello, this is Dale Matthews. I am happy to welcome you to our show. I'm happy to welcome Mike to our show. Heck, I'm happy to welcome myself to the show. Hello, Mike.
Yes, and that's a very welcoming new living room arrangement. Is that something that you're thinking about doing to your own living room there, Dale?
Well, that is my living. No, that's not my
Oh,
living.
yes.
No, what I'm going to use this as an example of the city sales tax. You'll see. You'll see. We're getting there.
I don't get it, Dale.
You will, you will. Okay, but what we're going to do tonight is we have spoken in the past a bit about a couple of stories where we're going to share the video with you. I like to see that you get, the best quality video that you can, but we try to tell you the news right away. So we're going to start right away into showing you, I went to something that sounds really boring, and it almost was completely boring. It's a meeting of the Solid Waste Agency. It sounds pretty boring,
Yes.
doesn't it? Well, I went there,
It
Mike,
sounds kind of
because
poopy if you ask me.
yes, yes, I went there because they were scheduled. They didn't do it, but they were scheduled to talk about new ordinances. Ooh, new ordinances along the lines of the ones that Cheryl Walker tried to sell to us, and we weren't taking them. And so I
Mhm.
went to see, well, since those didn't pass, are they going to try to kind of sneak them in under the radar where nobody's watching? And when I showed up and people came in, they were like, oh, Dale Matthews is here with a camera. Woohoo! Okay, so that was about as interesting as it was going to be until this fellow from the county health department piped up about wasting food in our schools. We've talked to you a little bit about this. Here's the video.
If you're in a school like I am, the amount of food waste is just appalling. It's so bad. Man, kids are required to take X amount of vegetables, X amount of fruit, X amount of whatever. They buy per USDA federal food guidelines. They have to.
Hang on a second. Can I just stop for a second? Kids are required to take a certain amount of vegetables and what? Really?
Yeah, apparently it's a little like those movies you see of standing in line at the Marine Corps or something, and they've got
Right.
their thing, and they just blop,
Yeah.
blop, blop. Yeah, well,
Yes.
they're
They're
required to give them a certain amount of
required.
rutabagas. That's right. Yeah.
You know what? And listen, I know that kids eat crap. They do. And that's what they want to eat. I remember when I was going to school, we ordered what we wanted for lunch. We
Yep.
didn't, and granted, there were whatever the menu item of the day was. It was
It wasn't broiled lobster.
yeah, but chicken with they had mashed potatoes and gravy and some peas or something on the side. But
We're getting to peas in the next video. Go ahead.
Yeah, just really, really bizarre that I mean, this is part of the root of this problem that we're having is that kids are required to take, because if they don't want it, they're not going to eat it.
Well, start again on this video, but this guy's going to explain to you that if the schools don't give them the food according to the federal food guidelines, then they're going to lose their grants.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, there we have the root of the situation.
It's the root of all evil. Yes.
So what it is, it comes down from the federal government. You can have this money if. Yes. Anyway, and so I'll start it over before I rudely interrupted.
No.
If you're in a school like I am, the amount of food waste is just appalling. It's so bad. Man, kids are required to take X amount of vegetables, X amount of fruit, X amount of whatever. They buy per USDA federal food guidelines. They have to have so much of everything on their plate, or they lose the food nutrition funding that they get. Well, a kid will take an apple, nibble out like that. The whole apple is ruined, and now it goes in the trash. I mean, it's really, really bad. They open the milk, they take a sip of it, boom, the rest goes to waste. And it's all the schools I talk to, they estimate their best estimates more than 50% of the food gets thrown.
More than 50%.
That's amazing.
So my question, again, I had no idea what a program would look like, to answer you, Terry, but if a program could be created, it may take a year just to come up with some sort of mock model program, maybe even longer, because there's quite a bit of politics that is going to be involved with it, from the federal guidelines to, a parent, don't make my child eat that, or what, something like that. So It's really it's an incredible opportunity also to A, address the issue, but B, to bring collective stakeholders together from all various aspects of the school community. But if I can go in initially with first meeting and say, hey, I've got this always agency on board, they would be willing to seriously look at funding something that we come up with. I can't guarantee they will or would, but I could at least say that. So my question is, would the agency be remotely interested in funding if a program could be developed? And it would be a pilot program. And if I'm thinking big, reach for the stars, it's a successful pilot program that we can then implement in other schools and maybe other parts of the country. Nobody else is doing this anyway.
Okay, man, I'm telling you, his solution to this program, which has a problem, is to start another program. Which, hey, what do you know? It might be successful. Maybe we can force other schools to do it too.
Yep.
Listen, you know what the solution to this problem is? It's similar to the solution for racism. Stop talking about it. Stop doing it. Let's remove the obligation of the school to feed children from the school. How about the parents feed the children? That's a good idea. Oh, how dare you suggest such a thing as responsibility on the part of parents? When I was a kid, school lunches, hot lunches, or any kind of school lunches weren't even an option until I was like in the 5th or 6th grade. And then it was like a new thing. Hey, we got, lunches, which are an option. You can bring money to school and buy the lunch. Before that, I don't remember any stories about children starving to death. And listen, if they do come to school and they're starving to death, how about go give their parents a talking to, if you know what I mean?
I've heard that there are children in our community who are fed 3 meals a day by the school.
Listen,
it's early dinner.
Well, Dale and I were just having this conversation this morning about what do you do about homeless people? Okay. And, one option is you abdicate your Christian responsibility to the government and say, well, I pay taxes and they give out welfare and food stamps and all this stuff. So I am now, I am absolved of my responsibility to, assist people who are, not doing well in this world. Well, I think that we're doing the same thing slowly but surely in this situation where you have, the school will feed my kids 3 times a day pretty soon. And I'm sure that this has already been suggested that, perhaps the school, at least the cafeteria department, should stay open during the summer so that my kids have somewhere to eat.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
That's just insanity. Listen, there are certain responsibilities. First of all, this country is so we live in the lap of luxury in this country, and people go, "Oh my God, you can't say that." Oh, yes, I can. Have you been to some other countries and seen the conditions that they live under? I haven't been to too many, but I've been to enough to know that we have it pretty good here. Even the very, very poorest among us has far more than people that are fairly well-to-do in some other countries. So I would say that, listen, we don't even keep up with replacement in this country. That's how selfish we are in this country. We have decided that less children gives us a better life, because then we don't have to put out as much financially to take care of these extra children. And so we have one child. I'm a bad example of that. I have one child. Okay. But the bottom line is that I took care of him all the way through. He never wanted he wanted for plenty of stuff that I didn't get him. Believe me, he did. But he never needed for anything. And I think that we are not instilling values in the people in this country. Listen, this is the kind of stuff you ought to be learning in school. is, you know, how to go about taking responsibility for yourself and for your children, for crying out loud. Listen, a lot of people will tell you that poverty exists in great measure in this county. And to some degree it does. But part of the reason for that is you don't educate people on how to go about getting a job and what's going to be required at that job. Here, let me just help you. 99% of it is showing up. Okay. And if you have a work ethic on top of that, that's a bonus. But there are plenty of places where you can get a job and take care of your children. And listen, there are going to be some people that need assistance from time to time. I'm not hard-hearted. You know, if somebody needs something and I can see that, I'll take care of somebody. I'm not beyond that. But I think that, you know, we're laying in a hammock here instead of doing what we need to do to take care of ourselves and our children. And that's the end of my tirade.
You know, it would be a very interesting thing. Sometimes doing this show with Mike, just it inspires me to come up with a new idea, like a new partner. One of the things would be very interesting.
Hey, listen, you can get as much airtime as you want anytime you want. You know that.
I know that.
Yes.
I like Mike as a partner. And not that kind. Would you stop it? Just because I'm wearing a pink.
Stop it. You know, Dale's problem is he's always thinking about sex.
Oh yeah, that's my problem. Right. No, that's my benefit.
Yes.
Okay, so what if there was no school cafeteria at all? You weren't taking money from the feds. They weren't telling you what to do. And everybody had to bring their own school lunch. Well, there would be plenty of children who didn't have a school lunch. But think about the lesson that they might learn, that their parents, usually the mom, honestly, would maybe sometimes pack an extra lunch for them so that they could learn how to share with classmates that need more food. Well, I knew a few people like that, or didn't have any food at all. What a lesson that would be.
Well, not only that, listen, I'm a big fan of shame. Okay. I'm not talking about using it on people and, you know, to denigrate them. I'm saying some people need to be admonished to take care of their responsibilities. And if you're going to be asked, how come your son came to school with no lunch today? And you know, people are going to be looking down at you about that. You're going to make damn sure that your kid has a lunch.
There's a chance you might cut back on the cigarettes. That's possible.
Right. Or the beer, or the iPhones, or the video games, or the, you know, I mean, the list is endless at this point in time. Luxuries that exist in this country right now that we partake of.
Just before lunch, everyone sits down to a health class. They pour out the contents of their meal, of their lunch.
Oh, yes.
And the teachers give a report card to the parents.
No. Listen, that's how we got where we're at right now. Michelle Obama is now telling us what you got to feed your kids. No, that's what this whole.
No, if the lunch bag is filled full of Twinkies, I don't think they even make them anymore. They'd have to be like 5 years old, right?
They do. As a matter of fact, listen, Twinkie went bankrupt for some reason.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
I forget what happened, but they went bank. Oh no, here's what it was. Yes. The union, there was a battle with the union about labor at this particular plant that made the Twinkies. And they decided to go ahead and shut it down. They sold it off to somebody else. They went and opened it. It was probably the same company, you know,
without a union. It was union busting. Yes,
hatched the subsidiary and took it. Listen, I'm totally fine with that. I don't have it isn't that I want to bust unions all the time. There are some unions that I want to bust, but I think that sometimes they get a little too big for their britches. And there was some crazy thing where they wanted to control the people who were driving the trucks to deliver the thing. I mean, there was something there where they wanted to have some kind of crazy control, and the company said, no way.
Yeah.
And as a result, of the unreasonable demand, everybody lost their job. How do you like that?
There was a
That's
TV
very
production
nice.
place in New York City that was very popular. It went out of business because the union insisted, this is where unions go too far, that pendulum thing, that
Mhm.
because of the different boroughs, that there had to be a different driver in the car. They would switch in the cab of the truck. They would switch places as they went through boroughs, full
Mhm.
employment, but there wasn't enough room in the cab for 4 drivers.
And I don't know why they're still using burros because, I mean, we have trucks now that run on, petroleum, hauling stuff around with burros. Is this kind of old school?
Now
But
that's pretty
that's
good. Okay.
that's typical union stuff where they,
Sure, it's the
trying to
Hispanic
create extra
influence of
labor.
the unions, I know. But the point is
Yes.
that they couldn't fit these 4 drivers in one cab of a truck.
Yes.
And
So dumb.
the production company actually went out of business because the Teamsters dug in and said, no, that's the way it's going to be.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, all
Well,
right, yeah, union
you know what? Listen,
uh-huh.
unions would be wise to, think of, is this reasonable? And I think actually the situation with the hostess company was very, very similar to that, about the drivers, how they had to have different drivers for whatever. But anyway, doesn't matter. The source of this problem, and it's not the total source, because let me tell you, when I was a kid going to school, a lot of people threw a lot of their food away.
Absolutely.
This is just what kids do. They don't always, and then they come home and they're like, I gotta have food right now.
Yeah, well,
But
what kind of food? It's going to be, sweet food. But yeah,
sure.
when my mother would put carrot sticks, I never had anything to share with anybody. Carrot sticks? Nobody wanted
Yes.
carrot sticks.
Yeah.
Nobody.
And sometimes you eat them, out of boredom. But most of what was happening at lunchtime when I ate was I was trying to get it consumed as fast as I could because it was a basketball game or something I wanted
Yeah.
to, go play Foursquare or whatever the heck it
That's
was.
good lessons we were learning. Eat out of boredom. Eat really fast.
Yes.
Oh, these are what, and throw away your carrot sticks.
But the bottom line is that they're overcompensating now by trying to say, well, if we give them nothing but healthy, nutritious stuff, if
Then
we
they
give them
won't
kale,
eat it. They won't eat it.
4 servings of kale, then they'll just eat kale, and they'll sooner or later they'll just learn to love it and they'll be healthier for it.
They would
Isn't that?
rather go hungry than eat kale.
That's right.
I did. I was
Yes.
going to eat that. I could
listen.
not eat zucchini until I was about 30 years old because of the way they cooked it. I always thought zucchini's wonderful with a lot of butter.
Yeah.
But I always thought it was tough and rubbery. It was tough and rubbery. Well, not the way my girlfriend fixed it. She said, well, try this. I was like, okay. Oh, that melts on your tongue. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Right. Well, and there are a million different ways to prepare zucchini, greatly by virtue of the fact that zucchini has almost no food value, but grows in such abundance. I mean,
Yes.
you could plant one zucchini seed and be inundated with zucchini.
Well, all they did with ours was boil them, and I wasn't going to eat that because after you tried it a couple of times, it's tough and rubbery. Well,
Yeah.
I thought that about lobster. I'd not at school, but I'd only had lobster at some places where it was tough and rubbery. I thought, what's the big deal about this? Then I had it broiled. Oh, now it's like a really big shrimp. That's what it's supposed to be like. I couldn't
Right.
figure out why people liked it.
Yeah. No, it's delicious done right.
Yes.
If you're, yes, it's like anything. If you do it wrong, it doesn't work.
So I like my idea of you bring your lunch to school in a sack. They don't bring them in metal boxes anymore. Come on, that was the 1900s. When I went to school.
I loved lunch boxes.
Well, I agree, but they don't do that. And so what you do is you
Yes.
bring your lunch to school, and then you learn goodness of heart by sharing with the bullies. No, they beat you for your lunch. You share with somebody that maybe doesn't have enough. Okay,
Yeah.
well, it's a lesson.
or you trade for something that you like, and
We're talking.
a mutually beneficial trade there.
Why is my kid always coming home and he's wired? It's because all he's been eating is chocolate bars.
Yes. Well, let me ask you something. Did they come to any sort of a conclusion, or did this guy just air the thing and they moved on to other stuff?
Well, first, they're the solid waste agency. So they were really, honestly, more interested in the fact that applesauce used to be served in a big container where you'd flat, and put it on your plate. Well,
Right.
this is a solid waste agency. So they were actually more interested in the fact that you can save
Plastic
on
container.
labor costs by putting them each in an individual little thing, and that'll be thrown away. So you throw away the applesauce, which is the least costly part of the meal, and then you throw away the plastic and you throw away the metal top, and it's creating landfill problems. This is a solid waste agency. So they said, be careful how you say it. You just find out what's possible, and we'll see. But it has to be about solid waste. This guy's from the county health department, and he's concerned, according to him, more than half of the food being thrown out. Well, that's a terrible waste.
Okay.
Yeah. Go.
Here's the other great point to make from this is that you will hear from many people that there's, starvation, happening in America right now. Well, not at any of these schools, because let me tell you what, if a kid gets hungry enough, he will eat stuff that he doesn't like.
Yeah,
he will.
He does have to get awful danged hungry.
Yes, but this is what a tremendous luxury in this country that we have the luxury of throwing away food.
Okay, so that goes straight into our next video, which is not about food. It's about homeless people. So we'll show you the video, but here's Cheryl Walker, and she's talking about, well, she went down to the county building in IV for somehow she's the liaison to a building. I don't get it, but anyway, so she's down there at this county building, and she says that she sees 6 homeless people that are near the building. Let's play the video, and then we'll talk and laugh about it.
Anytime you have that fresh wafting of human waste, when you walk by something, it's a problem, and that's what we have.
Well, that's like the CJ building. I was out there again. I've been working on that and communicating with Brian, and we're going to be moving the fence. I was out there yesterday, and there must have been 6 people with all their shopping carts and stuff camping out beside the building. And not only that, they're using the planters out front as urinals. Nice, huh?
ODOT is also going to take down.
It's better than just doing it on an animal.
No, it's overflowing.
ODOT is also going to remove the curb there. That's actually our property right at the road home. And they asked me if it was okay to make it ADA accessible. And I thought that's a no-brainer. That we wouldn't have any problem. They don't have to pay us for the use.
It's on the north.
It'll be on the south side of that intersection, across from the bank, right on the county's.
Okay.
That's a curb. There's no depression for handicap.
So after seeing that yesterday, again, I contacted Brian and I said, remove those planters because the plants are dead in it anyway. To kill them using that burning. So
Yeah, there's no aesthetic.
no. So
Are those concrete planters or?
Yes, concrete planters. Yes. Now, what that said at the bottom is something about why does Walker always feel the need to Monday? That's not what I was supposed to say, because it says Monday at the bottom here.
Why does she Monday?
It's awful whenever she does
She ought to
that.
be recalled.
The question is, this is a small thing. I know it's a small thing, but when you've been in as many meetings as I have, you see this happen with her and with Larry Graves all the time. It's not enough just to say the problem. Okay, say the problem. Oh, that sounds like a problem. She has to over-exaggerate everything. Well, just imagine now, the planters, there's 3 of them out in front, and they're overflowing with urine. No, they're not.
I didn't hear her say overflowing with urine, though.
She did. You want to play it again?
Well, here's what I do want to play again and get comment on to begin with, because in the first few seconds of that clip, Keith is saying something, and so I want to ask you about that.
Drop your lower third, please.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Pull your pants off. Lower third.
Crying out loud. Now I have to take my lower third off. Okay. All right. Here we go. Yes. Well, what's going on here? Yes, it's no volume. That's what's going on there. Okay, here we go.
Anytime you have that fresh wafting of human waste when you walk by something, it's a problem, and that's what we have now.
Well, that's like the CJ building.
Okay, so he says anytime you have the fresh wafting of human waste, it's a problem. And then she goes, oh, yeah. And now that you're mentioning that, let me tell you about the CJ building. So what were they talking about before that made Keith say, oh, yeah, anytime you smell a wafting of human waste? What were they talking about?
When Simon Hare can't make it to the bathroom in time. No, that's not why. That's not why. Now stop it.
His little, one of those little hospital urinals is overflowing.
It's overflowing, right? No,
Yes.
he was talking about the fact that behind the Ann Basker building, now apparently the shrubs, they're like 70, 80-year-old shrubs, and Cheryl's saying, maybe we should cut them down. Simon says, no, don't cut them down. So anyway, they grow up to a certain height, and there's no vegetation underneath. And so she's thinking of, I'm making this up, decorative barbed wire painted green along the bottom to keep the homeless people out of there, because I made that up. But she's thinking of what can we possibly do, maybe just yank it all out, because homeless people are getting under there, and then they're making a little home for themselves behind the bushes. Now wait, no, just before everybody, well, that's terrible. Now, there is one other thing to consider. Just one other thing. Homeless people are camping behind the bushes. Homeless people. Now, are they mentally ill vets? Are they just difficult people that don't want to live in society? What are they? Has anybody talked with them? Have you found out why it is? I mean, it's like Diane Hoover. Good news, infant mortality is up, and so we're going to get more grants. No, the first question is, why are there six? She says 6. I don't believe anything she says, but why are there 6 people with their shopping carts that are urinating in the planters at the county building in Cave Junction? The planters are up front. Really?
Because they're there?
Well, shouldn't we at least say something to these guys? Gee, why are you here? Well, I'm here because blah, blah, blah. I'm here because it's my own fault. I'm here because I prefer to be here. I'm here because, who knows why they're there. Right. And so maybe at least make one little stop at Crazy Town to find out why they're there.
Well, yeah, and that's an interesting thing. If you remove the planters, then what are they going to pee on? They're just going to pee on the side of the building?
Exactly.
Or,
okay. Where I used to live,
you can't stop their bodily functions.
Yes, no, probably not.
You even just move them to a different place to have their bodily functions.
Pass an ordinance, yes. Okay, when I was
no peeing, yes.
in college, I lived at a place where they had a sand volleyball court there. Okay, and people would go back for a long hit or something, and they'd back into these tall plastic light stands so that you could play at night, and they'd back into them and damage them or knock them over or whatever. So, well, what could we possibly do about this? So that complex of places we were living decided to put big concrete bottoms around the bottom of the plant.
And so people were going back for the long hit and hitting that and getting knocked out cold, probably.
Exactly. They were breaking their legs. Now, it's saved that. Well,
yeah.
Stupid. Well, here's the same thing. Now, Cheryl decided instantly, without talking to the commissioners, because they didn't know this, to spend county money. She's already given the instruction before Simon said, well, that makes sense. Before he said anything, she instructed county workers to remove the planters all on her own. Now, wait a minute. Really?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. Listen, the homeless situation, clearly, this is a problem that nobody wants to face in Grants Pass or greater Josephine County. Now, I understand it isn't politically correct to say, hey, we need to do something about the homeless. And I'm not talking about feeding them or whatever. I'm saying that, a lot of these places that are charitable toward the homeless, that's fine. But there has to be, some requirement that these people behave in a certain manner.
Yes.
You know, I wouldn't allow a bunch of homeless people to be walking around town defecating everywhere, and I would identify who those people are and ship them the hell out of here.
You said shift, right?
I said ship.
Right. Ship them. Yeah. Ship.
Yes, ship them. That's right.
If they're doing the other thing, you would like to.
Well,
ship
they
them.
are doing the other thing. That's
They
the
are.
problem.
And behind some businesses and all. So
Yes.
I do under. Okay, so we talked about the idea before the show of Scott Chansey runs an excellent transit service, and so perhaps they should be provided at county expense because it would cost less. Just put them all on there. Oh, look, a free ride. And you take them down to, where was it that we decided? It can't be Jackson County because they could turn right around and come back. You take them down,
we were talking about sending them to Roseburg.
send them to Roseburg,
Yes.
and you say, here you go. Have a nice life.
As a present from us.
Yes.
And
present
on the side, some of the buses could say, you know, Josephine County Transit, and the other ones could say Josephine County Transient.
Oh, that's pretty good. Or they could be painted black. It's the equivalent of black helicopters, except of black buses.
Yes.
Right?
And listen, you know, listen, the political correct people are going to come out of the woodwork here.
Okay, all right, but politically correct people, do you want them moving into your backyard?
Right, yes.
Not in my backyard.
You don't want anybody to do anything about it, then adopt these people and have them come to your house and eat your food and you know, whatever. And maybe you can reform them and turn them into people who are normal, productive members of society. And I don't mean to discriminate against these people in an undue fashion, but if they are your right to do whatever you want to in this world stops where you begin to infringe on the quality of life of somebody else.
Well, also now you've got a number of people in the area that say, but where's your Christian humanity? Now, let me ask you this question. So I've talked about this before. Here's Jesus in a cave with the apostles, and they're arguing among themselves about who's the greatest apostle, and the guy is right there, right? And he's washing their feet while they're arguing about who's the greatest apostle, okay? Now, if one of them decided, you know what, I think I'm just sort of take the day off. Jesus, go get me some grapes, would you? You know, because I'm just going to lay back here and relax, and I don't feel like working the rest of the week. I don't think he'd put up with that, would he? I mean, yes, he's a servant, because we've been doing a lot of talking about public servants. But you're going to have to do something, because even Jesus would show you Christ. He would show you Christian charity. Of course he would. But would he let you take advantage of everybody else and say, okay, everybody, go get me some food. I think I'm just going to sit here and enjoy myself for a while, says the Apostle Mark.
Right.
Whoever.
Well,
no, that's not going to work that way.
Sermon on the Mount's a perfect example where, you know, here's 5,000 people and we got to feed them somehow. And the loaves and fishes thing. Now,
he was feeding them, so I'm not sure I see the perfect point of that. Go ahead.
No. He was feeding them there, but he didn't follow them home and make sure that every single one of their meals was made after that. They were there in a situation where, you know, there wasn't enough food available to feed all of these people. And so he did that thing, but he didn't put them on welfare is the point.
No, he didn't do that. No. And it's also true, there's the story of the guy on the side of the road with the broken wagon. Well, I'm waiting for, you can't wait. He's giving you the intelligence to fix your own danged wagon or walk. So you're not.
That reminds me of, I was doing hang on a second. I was doing construction, you know, back in the 80s, and we were sheeting roofs. And, you know, we were up there walking around with, you know, long metal poles in our hand or whatever. And all of a sudden, you know, there's a huge lightning storm coming. And one of the guys that I was working with he was a deeply religious guy. And he says, you know, Jesus will protect me. And I was telling all the guys, get down off the roof, man, because lightning is hitting everywhere. And, you know, the kind where, you know, the flash and the boom come at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was telling this guy, and finally, I got mad at him. I said, listen, I think God probably gave you the common sense to get
Yes.
down off of the roof during a lightning storm. And this is the thing that you're talking about, that I think we would find out who really needs charity by not giving as much of it.
Well,
I
certainly
think that
true that they fall into different categories. There's
Mhm.
there's the prototypical veteran that came back from the war all screwed up, and now he's kind of mental, and because we've cleared out so many of the mental hospitals that they've got nowhere to go. There's that kind. Then there's the entire family that's fallen on bad luck, and they just have nowhere to go but to pitch a tent and to live off the charity of others. You got
Right.
the guys that are down
But
at
here, hang on a second before you move on.
Taco
This
Bell.
family that's in that situation,
Yeah.
those situations are typically very, very short-lived situations. You shouldn't have a family of 3 or 5 that are homeless for a year.
Well, I don't know. I haven't spoken to him either.
Yes, but here's the thing. I mean, if that is going on, something is wrong there in that they are not doing it right. You know, you should never ever have a situation that is anything more than the emergency situation where you need to deal with something for a time until you can get on your feet. If you can't get on your feet, maybe you need to be taught how that's done.
Okay, so
That's my point.
that brings up a real good point. I was going to talk about the guys that are with the dog out in front of Taco Bell. The dog doesn't look like he's starving, which is great.
Right.
The guy is feeding the dog, but still,
He's
the
got
guy
new
doesn't look
shoes
like
on.
he's starving either. Okay, and
Right.
that's just on
Yes.
the dog. Okay, so
He has the
so-
prop gas can.
right. Okay,
Yes.
so maybe what a group like the Job Council, who doesn't want to be called the Job Council anymore because they weren't providing any jobs, they're now the Workplace Development Group or something that's supposedly training people how to, now that you know what a computer is, you'll get a job. No. Okay, so maybe those guys, maybe in order to be paid anything by the county, anything, first they have to find people who are homeless and offer them the opportunity of getting a job by teaching them how to hold a job. Now, if
Right.
they're not interested in holding a job, they don't want any kind of job, they turn you down flat, then that's when you put them on one of Scott Chansey's buses
That's right. Ship 'em
and
out
they
of town.
run out to Roseburg.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only point that I'm making, is that you have to run these people through some cheesecloth, and you're going to filter out the people that these are people that actually need some help,
Yes.
and the people that want to use that piece of cheesecloth as a hammock. I mean,
Oh, that's a good one, Mike.
there's different kinds here, and I think that charity is so easy to come by. Other people's money is so easy to come by in this country right now, that you have a bunch of people that go, hey, why should I go get a job? I can all I have to do right now is walk down to the social services and say, hey, I'm falling on hard time. They'll hand me practically over the counter an EBT card.
They will help you. Yes, right.
Yeah. So I think that there ought to be some sort of shame in that. You need to be a productive member of society. There are things that you need to do. It's wrong to not take care of your kids. It's wrong to not take care of yourself, really. And then you get down to situations of mental illness and broken people that are broken psychologically, and
Yes.
and that's one of the things where I think that we have cut funding where there should be funding for that. If you did take care of some of those people in that respect, and I'm not talking in the government way, I'm talking about where you actually help them, you ultimately would have less of these people to deal with on the law enforcement side of the spectrum.
Yeah, right. That's right. So there are some things. First, we have to do some pretty basic things. And one of them is, honestly now, if you find that they're using a garbage can behind a county building or a planter out in front, and they're using it as a urinal, I agree with Mike. It's better than urinating on the wall. Now, I'm sure some of them are doing that, but the idea that your first response is to move the planter, well, it
Well,
just.
there's clearly a ball being dropped here, and I don't know why we can't. I don't know. I mean, how hard is there somebody staffed in that IV building down there,
No,
or is that just sitting there
there
empty
isn't.
most of the time?
No, there isn't. And as Simon Hare pointed out, I thought that the city, I mean, they've got a policeman there. And what about, move along, move along? It's not the
Yeah.
only place in our area, however, where there are people who are wandering around during the day and they're yelling at themselves. That's one category. Or they're looking for a handout. That's probably another category. Or they got their whole family with them. I don't see too many of those, but
Yeah.
they're probably there. And
It happens from time to time. I've seen it.
yeah.
And as a matter of fact, let me tell you,
passing through with their dog and the old lady and the backpacks, and they're just.
Listen, I saw a fantastic thing on Facebook. This speaks right to what you're saying right now. On Facebook the other day, I think it was in Josephine County neighborhood chat. There was some family coming through. They had like a van, and the van was broken down, and they needed some part or something like that. And there were the kids were hungry or whatever. There was a ton of people that said, "Where is that? I'm going to run over there. I'll buy them Taco Bell. I'll do whatever." And they did. They ultimately and somebody went over there, helped the guy fix his van, got on his way. That is how it ought to be done. If you ask me.
What we need to avoid is the people. Well, the welfare mother came driving up in 3 limousines and she bought lobster. Look, just stop it, okay? Yes, certainly that exists somewhere, maybe even here, but that's not the norm. I don't think it's the norm. I haven't done a scientific study, but that's not the norm. The norm is that there are some people, not talking about the crazy people, I mean, literally, clinically, psychologically affected. Okay, not talking about them, but there are some people who they don't want anyone pulling their strings. They don't want an iPhone. They don't want someone telling them what to do. They don't want to go to the gospel rescue mission where before they'll feed you, you have to listen to a sermon. They don't want that. Okay, I'm not. And here's your kale. Okay, I'm one of those. I wouldn't want to do that either. Okay, then I have a choice. If I can get fed. And I'm not talking about drinking it all down as beer. Stop it. Okay. But if I want to get fed and I want to stick out in front of Taco Bell and put up a little sign saying, I'm hungry. Okay. And if people are willing to part with some cash and it makes them feel better, and I'm getting the money I need because I don't like Taco Bell, let's say, and I want, Subway or something, then okay. But we can't be overrun by these guys. And once you get up to a certain percentage, we're not overrun. Come on now. But once you get up to a certain percentage, that's just too much for some people. They don't like seeing it a lot. Mike?
I don't even think it's the number of these people that are here. I think it's the actions of a probably a small number of them committing crimes, defecating in places and urinating in places where they shouldn't be, and making it difficult for local vendors to do business. Those are the ones you need to get rid of. I don't have any problem with somebody who's here who's being respectful of the community here. It's the ones that aren't. I say, get the hell out. I don't care. I feel no charity towards you if you're going to literally defecate on my property after I feed you.
Now, and if you're watching this show, how the heck are you watching this show when you're supposedly homeless?
Yes, that's right. He's watching it on his iPhone is the thing while he's eating lobster. No, you know what? This would be an interesting study and I do know because my son has worked at Walmart as a checker there. And he said that a huge percentage, a majority of the people coming through there are paying with EBT cards in the Grants Pass Walmart. And at least in the lines that he was in, and he's not prone to exaggeration on that. He would have told me, what the situation is. He likes to talk about the dynamics that exist in the jobs that he's working. And that was just one of the situations that was happening there at Walmart. And I think there is probably a tremendous part of this county that is on public assistance. And I think that's sad. That's part of the reason why the economy in this town is in such dumper. It would be nice to.
Now, if you say to us, now hold on just a second, you guys, it's easy for you to criticize the commissioners for taking out the planters or suggesting that perhaps we should rip up 70-year-old plants because there's someone that's, but we've just given you like 3 alternatives. They're not all crazy or all jokes. There are ways that this kind of thing can be handled. And I would say, so maybe it's, that Christian charity part of me coming out. But I would say your first question should not be, how do I take out this planter? Your first question should be, what categories do these people fall under? I don't know if there's somebody here that just wants the freedom of living out in the wild, and there are people who like living in a park. There are people that like living in a park. Okay.
Well, the IV building is not a park, nor is it the wild by any stretch.
I know, but I'm talking about in general. And then there are people who are just, they don't know where they are. Sometimes Keith Heck doesn't know where he is. And there are other people that fall into a variety of categories, and so first you need to find out which they are. I would think that your first responsibility as an elected official should be that you try to do something for someone that's within your county. And if it turns out this is a ne'er-do-well, then you say a fond farewell to them and you see that they move along. It's not fair to take them to Roseburg, but it's better than leaving them here. Mike?
I like the idea.
It's got to be Roseburg because they go to Jackson County, they can just turn right around on Scott's bus and come back.
Right. I was telling Dale that, you'd end up having border skirmishes between Jackson or Josephine and Douglas County and stuff if you started shipping, transients to their neighborhood. Although you could do it like in clandestine fashion there.
You're in the middle of the night in a black bus.
Yes, right.
And it's got that radar absorbent material on the sides.
Yes, the stealth bus.
Yeah, stealth buses. It is a traditional solution. I like traditional America. Well, that's traditional America, bud, where you just move your problem down the street.
Well, and listen. All of these things that we've been talking about the homeless, about this situation in the schools where they're throwing out. Here's what they're throwing out. They're throwing out the school lunches that are provided by the school. They're not throwing out the stuff that they're bringing. Now, a lot of the stuff that they're probably getting from home, they're throwing out too. But at least their mothers know more of what they like to eat. And I can't believe that all mothers are unconcerned about their children's nutrition.
No,
so some of them are feeding them what they consider to be decent meal. Now,
if I want to throw out the carrot sticks, that's up to me, Mom.
Yes. However, here's the greatest solution to all of these problems is to fix the economy in Josephine County. And unfortunately, there is a huge governmental and environmentalist element to all of this because the natural resources are completely locked out. And this latest, even the little teeny bit that's coming into this community from local resources is going to be, that tap is going to be shut off.
But it's crazy in a place where there's problems with the infrastructure, there's problems with honesty, there's problems with the economy. It's crazy to be throwing out more than half of the food in the schools.
Yeah, but you're not going to stop that until you change the kind of food that you're putting in the lunch.
That's right. If the kids just don't want to eat it, which is more important, filling up the little bellies or filling them up with kale?
Oh, you could hire, new county employees to stand behind all the kids with a billy club and make sure that they eat all of their food. You could do that.
They are required to take a certain amount. And what you really need to do is you need a committee of school kids. They know what they like. And when they suggest pizza for every meal, Yay, yay. The other kids are going to say, I know that that's not all good for you, but really, rice cakes, come on.
Yeah.
All right. So what you have is you've got pizza once a week, or maybe you got pizza at every meal. So you try to throw in some, well, I don't know, peppers in there. At least they're green, right? You throw in some old meat. That would be green also. There's plenty of stuff. There's stuff that you can
Listen,
do.
I'm sure there's a way to do this. I mean, listen, this has been the oldest trick in the book is to try and get kids to eat and like stuff that they normally don't eat and don't like.
That's correct.
And a lot of mothers are very successful at that. And as a matter of fact, Jerry Seinfeld's wife wrote a whole book about how to trick your kids into eating stuff that's healthy. So, you know, maybe the school district ought to look into that and see if they can start making stuff that actually tastes good.
Well, yeah. Can they learn any lessons? Can school teachers and administrators learn lessons?
Well, yeah, but part of this problem is here comes this money down from the government.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a string attached to it, and you have to feed this. And if you don't, well, then you don't get this money. So then they get tied into this situation where after a while, they don't care about the fact that they're wasting because they're getting this extra money that they wouldn't get. It's a net profit to them.
They know that they're wasting it. They're not fools. They're not
Yes.
fools. They know they're wasting it, and they're willing to do so because to pipe up, you're going to get hammered down. With the Japanese saying, the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. If they say something like, this is crazy, well, how long do you want to work here? You know, that's not going to work.
Is the state of Oregon somehow obligated to, taking the federal guideline? Only because
they
funding
are
is attached. Well, but actually, no, they're not.
Okay.
They don't have to take it, but they are taking it because there's money attached to it.
That's it.
If there wasn't any money attached to it, they would can this pretty darn fast.
They would can it. And the other thing that fits in is, you know, you want more green in your meals. Well, there's plenty of green. It's American greenbacks, and that's what's funding. That's what's funding the waste. They're throwing so much of it away. Can they do anything with it? Could you sell an apple that has one tiny little kid-sized bite out of it?
Probably not.
No, you can't sell that. You can't give it away either. Really?
Yeah.
Well, this is crazy.
Yeah. Here's an amazing thing. If he's saying that 50% of the waste, 50% of the food is wasted in this county for public school lunches.
Yeah.
And you multiply that times all the public schools in America, how many million pounds of food are we wasting every single day? What is the dollar value of that every single day that we're just shooting out of a cannon?
Well, I saved this for last. There's a confluence of these two stories. Now we know where the homeless people should be living. Right next to the cafeteria at the school.
Yes, that's right. But they don't like kale either, probably.
Yeah, well, there's going to be apples that are available with one bite out of them.
Well, and listen, there's no question that they would be better fed. Listen, why don't they? No. I was just about to suggest something really stupid. So
okay, well, it wouldn't be the first time from either one of us.
Yes,
okay, well, thanks for watching our show this evening. We are discussing some of the things. We're not hearing big discussions. I mean, this guy was not exactly speaking up real loud. No one else was really, really interested in talking much to him about this at the Solid Waste Agency. Certainly not going to hear the commissioners talking about it. Okay. Simon Hare showed up a little later, but he didn't really want to talk about it either. We are fearless on this show. It's easy for us to be fearless because after this, I'm going to go over to Jimmy's and compare their burger with the burger In-N-Out. Okay. So I'm going to be eating. Not as much as I should, obviously, but we do try to hit these issues straight on. We get you talking about it. Might make some of you angry. You'll get over it. We'll talk about another issue tomorrow with which you also disagree. That's okay. At least we're talking about them. We're starting a dialogue, and you can talk to, your neighbors and tell them what you heard on tonight's show. Hey, what do you think about this? Well, I think they should all be shot. The vagrants? No, Mike and Dale.
Yes.